Hello, my name is Karen Blankenship. I'm a doctoral student at Florida Atlantic University and an active nurse practitioner. You can find my blog on the web at healthycomm.net. This is the second educational post in a series of 6. The title is Dietary Sugars and Health. Increasing intake of dietary sugars, especially from consumption of sugar-sweetened beverages, has been associated with increased body weight in adults. Yet, it is also important to note that with intake of different sugars, no difference in weight change is found when energy intakes are equal. In addition to weight gain, other studies have looked at the associations between sugar intake and other health problems. In 12 studies that have examined health and the isoenergetic exchanges of dietary sugars with other carbohydrates or macronutrient sources, both dietary sucrose and fructose ingestion, for sucrose from 3% to 20% total energy per day, and for fructose from 3 grams to 160 grams per day, has been associated with increased body fat and hyperlipidemia independent of effects on body weight. There are several forms of sugars in the foods we eat. Sugars are carbohydrates, which may be divided into 2 categories, complex and simple. Complex carbohydrates include fiber, the subject of last week's blog, and starch. Simple carbohydrates are typically what is referred to when the term sugar is used, and include 3 monosaccharides, glucose, galactose, and fructose, and 3 disaccharides, lactose, maltose, and sucrose. What gets confusing is that some of these sugars go by other names and/or can be modified through processing and renamed. Sucrose, which is made up of glucose and fructose, for example, is found naturally in some fruits, but is also extracted from sugarcane and then added to foods to improve sweetness. Sucrose is what is found in table sugar and can also be called cane, raw, or turbinado sugar. Sucrose is also present in corn syrup, maple syrup, sorghum syrup, and brown sugar. Another sugar called invert sugar is derived from the breakdown of sucrose and provides glucose and fructose to foods to which it has been added. High fructose corn syrup consists of the same 2 monosaccharides, fructose and glucose, found in sucrose. But this sugar is made by breaking down cornstarch with acid and enzymes. Fructose is found naturally in many fruits, some vegetables, as well as being present in fairly high amounts in agave and honey. What happens to fructose in the body? In studies supplying the excess of calories with high fructose corn syrup or fructose, weight gain occurred in both the control and the fructose group. With no increase in calories, body weight did not increase. Thus, weight gain typically occurs with consumption of energy, calories, in excess of the body's energy needs. This excess energy can come from too much carbohydrate, protein, and/or fat. A benefit of fructose ingestion is that it does produce a rise in blood glucose and thus triggers insulin release. When high fructose corn syrup was given at a level to maintain current body weight, insulin levels did not rise. On the other hand, excessive fructose ingestion has been associated with increased hepatic fat synthesis, also called de novo lipogenesis, which in turn may promote the development of fatty liver and hypertriglyceridemia. Sevastianova and others in 2012 found that overweight subjects who were overfed a diet containing lots of simple sugars from candy, pineapple juice, and sugar-sweetened soft drinks exhibited increased liver fat and de novo lipogenesis. Weight loss reversed the liver fat to normal. Excessive fructose ingestion also has been linked with increases in blood pressure and with increases in uric acid production. What happens when we eat foods containing other sugars? Consumption of carbohydrates containing foods results in a rise in blood glucose. The predicted rise in blood glucose in response to consumption of various foods has been measured and is referred to as the glycemic index. The glycemic load, another type of index, takes into account both a food's glycemic index and the total amount of carbohydrates consumed. Consumption of foods that have a high glycemic index, which is 70 or higher, when eaten by themselves with nothing else, is known to elicit the greatest increase in blood glucose. These effects are particularly detrimental to those with diabetes or prediabetes. Some examples of foods with a relative high GI include baked and boiled potatoes, instant mashed potatoes, white rice, white bread, waffles, cornflakes, watermelon, jelly, and most candies. Calculation of the glycemic load may also be done. Some suggest that glycemic loads that are 20 or higher should be minimized, especially by those with diabetes or prediabetes. However, the basis of these measures is what the foods are consumed in isolation, and this is seldom the case. In fact, foods with a high glycemic index can be eaten if combined with a food with a lower glycemic index, such as apple, kidney beans, milk, or salad. How do you know what foods contain sugar? Check the food label for total carbohydrate. It provides you with the information on all simple sugars, complex carbohydrates, and fiber. If you just look at the number next to the word sugar on the label, you may overeat foods such as grains that have little natural sugar and no added sugar. Sugars listed on the labels include only simple sugars, not complex, and do not distinguish between sugars found naturally versus those that are added. One way to see if there are added sugars in the foods is to review the ingredient list. But in doing this, make sure you are familiar with the sugar's multiple names, as often a company will have 3 or 4 different forms of sugar in any one food. A final reminder is just because a package says sugar-free does not mean that it is free of carbohydrates or calories. Sugar alcohols are used in many candies and do provide calories. How much sugar and carbohydrates should we be eating? The Food and Nutrition Board of the Institute of Medicine recommends that we eat 45% to 65% of total energy from carbohydrates. The dietary guidelines for Americans suggest that we should be eating up to 25% of energy from sugars, or less than 125 grams of sugar if one consumes a 2,000 kcal diet. The American Heart Association, 2014, is more conservative in their recommendation of sugar consumption and is in line with the American Diabetes Association, 2013. Women are to limit their added sugars to 100 calories per day, about 6 teaspoons or about 24 grams of sugar, and men to 150 calories per day, about 9 teaspoons or about 36 grams of sugar. High fructose corn syrup is one of the most commonly found added sugars in sweetened drinks and processed foods. Fraser, a registered dietitian, shares his SOS sugar, oil, salt 5-step test for food labels. Does the food contain added sugar in the first 4 ingredients? If the answer is no, continue to step 2. If yes, consider a different food immediately. Does the food contain enriched or white flour in the ingredients? If the answer is no, continue to step 3. If yes, consider a different food. Does the food contain hydrogenated oil or any other unhealthy added oil? If the answer is no, continue to step 4. If yes, consider a different food. Then check the nutrition facts. Is the percentage of calories from fat greater than 25%? If the answer is no, continue to step 5. If yes, consider a different food. Are the milligrams of sodium greater than the number of calories? If the answer is no, it passes the test. If the answer is yes, consider a different food. Some suggestions are: eat whole fruit instead of juices. Avocados, cherries, grapefruit, guava, lemons, limes, starfruit, and berries are low in sugar. Fruits also provide relative high amounts of fiber, vitamins, and health-promoting phytochemicals. Read the ingredients on the food labels to look for added sugars. They are found in lots of processed foods. Limit condiments such as ketchup and barbecue sauce, to name a few, that may have 1 teaspoon of sugar for every tablespoon of condiment. Spread nut butters over your crackers or breads instead of jams or jellies. Add seltzer water to half a cup of fruit juice instead of having a soda. When eating a higher glycemic index food such as white rice or pasta, reduce the effect on blood glucose by combining it with a lower glycemic index food such as milk or salad. Pack non-perishable healthy items such as almonds, walnuts, pumpkin seeds, almond butter, unsweetened dried fruits, a jar of artichoke hearts, and water in your glove compartment, top desk drawer at work, and travel bag to avoid stopping at concession stands, vending machines, and fast food stops. Finally, don't forget to continue to enjoy whole grains. According to Mark Hyman, 2014, altruism is shown by science to activate the same pathways of reward in the brain as sugar, but without the negative side effects. As this blog encourages behaviors of one another to promote healthy food choices, may our reward pathways in the brain be well satisfied, with the double bonus of less sugar intake. Continue to journal what you eat to track amounts consumed. Enjoy your food, be satisfied, but eat less. Please feel free to discuss the changes that you are making and how they are impacting your life. I want to thank you for watching and invite you to read the corresponding articles at healthycomm.net.